Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.
Welcome to Peter and Roughie's Football Show. We're live on Facebook and YouTube, sponsored by Arnold Clark, and hoping to bring you just a ray of sunshine for every hour of every weekday. Darren Jackson, Hugh McDonald and Alan Ruff are with me on a day when Partick Thistle have sought legal counsel and believe that Dundee's no vote should stand. At 5 o'clock, the SPFL will meet to discuss what Dundee are doing. Will they call a league? Only time will tell. The saga goes on and on. There's lots to talk about, but first and foremost, here's a wee teaser with a quiz question. That should be a fairly easy one for today to get you in a good mood. We'll try and read out as many of the messages as possible. We've got a one-to-one with Scott McDonald in Brisbane. He's obviously signed for Brisbane Roar, where Robbie Fowler is his gaffer. So we'll get the thoughts of Scott. And also we'll be talking about Bonnie Rig Rose's reply to the announcement that Kelty Hearts are champions of the Lowland League. We will offer our congratulations to Barry and undoubtedly we'll get his thoughts on that tomorrow, hopefully, if he is with us on the show. So, first and foremost, let's go to the man with the Partick Thistle badge on and get his thoughts on it. Partick Thistle have sought legal counsel, and if you'll forgive me, Roughie, I'm just quickly going over points 1, 2 and 3, but point 1 is basically that the legal counsel has concluded that the SPFL were a little vague and not clear and concise on the fact that clubs could actually have applied for loans rather than it being determined by league placings. Secondary to that, they think that the vote by Dundee was cast in line with the SPFL's own rules and must stand, meaning that the resolution fails. And the third point on this, that the SPFL articles, there's potential for them to be altered, as would be required to bring a season to an end early in order, for example, to facilitate the payments of fees to the clubs. But I think the resounding one there, Roughie, is they believe that Dundee's vote should be accepted, no, and the resolution fails.
Yeah, as we spoke about it the other day there, I think we're now in the world of legal loopholes. Everybody seems to be following on that aspect to get themselves out of it. I think our club have certainly looked into that side of it, and they have gained counsel that it doesn't matter where your vote goes, whether it goes into spam or whatever, it's a vote, and it's a vote that should have counted. I think the biggest thing, apart from that, is that I think you'll find that the majority of clubs, Championship, First and Second Division, were under the illusion if they never voted, they never got their money, which we now know isn't the case because their money is there to be dished out. I think that's another thing. There are just so many things that have been going on that I don't think the clubs have been particularly kept up 100% to speed with.
Hugh McDonald, what's your reaction to this? And bearing in mind, Hugh, that, you know, whether Partick Thistle release this statement or not, it's not, the SPFL are at peace with the way they believe they've conducted themselves. Partick Thistle state otherwise. And I think this whole legal minefield will continue. What's your take on it?
Absolutely. First of all, I'm surprised that you got a wee comment out of Roughie there without his lawyer present. Take the Fifth Amendment all the time. Very interesting. One thing about getting, and I know, Peter, a long time in this trade, that one Queen's Council's opinion is the start of an argument, never the end of one. There's always another Queen's Council will come in with another argument. If this goes to legal arbitration, and it's looking more and more likely that it does, it's going to end up an absolute shambles. And I'm not criticising people for taking it that way because they've got justifiable complaints. But my point about all this, and we could go into all the rights and wrongs of this vote, and there's certainly been wrongs, is that what's been lost in this and is getting lost every day that passes is that clubs are running out of money fast. They needed this money last week, the week before last, the week before that, and it's dragging out, and it's going to really impact very heavily in clubs, and in fact is impacting on them now.
Yeah, the other thing I would point out to everybody, and thank you to so many people who join us and obviously offer their opinion on this whole issue. What I would say to you is, and I always like to remind people of the decency of it, making allegations about corruption or liars or cheats or whatever, this isn't really the platform for you. This is a football show. So if you are joining us on Facebook and, of course, on YouTube Live, please, call canny on what you're actually going to post up there and try and make it as passionate and as informed an opinion as you possibly can. It's the only thing that we mention every day on this channel, and we really do appreciate the people who are following us and the great figures we're getting for the show. Darren, apart from anything else, I think the one thing that's key, there are so many separate issues here, but the Dundee elephant in the room will not go away. I mean, I tried to write down as many of the things that I was wondering were happening with Dundee. I wonder if there was a call made. I'd love to have been a fly in the wall. It's not illegal for them to make a call to try and sway their decision. Whoever makes a call, if indeed there was a call, were there any promises made to them? And, I just wonder, as we go ahead here, do you think Dundee maybe had an unfair advantage because they were last man in and started to make demands themselves before they placed that yes vote? It's a tough call, but
it is a tough call, Peter. We don't know. I mean, like, Roughie can maybe answer this, but it came out after it that you were allowed 28 days to vote. Is that right?
Well, some of the clubs knew it was 28 days. The majority of the clubs, particularly down the bottom of the divisions, did not know they had 28 days to go. That's one of the areas that was not thrown out there in the vote. The vote was vote in 2 days or you don't get your money.
Right, okay, well, so people are getting mixed points, and like, is it you had to vote by 5 o'clock and then you were told 28 days? Now, how can the SPFL not get an answer from Dundee? Are they allowed to go their 28 days before they give their answer on why they've changed their mind, or was their email caught in spam and what's going on? So there's a lot of grey areas, Peter, that obviously they're trying to sort out just now. But why have they not been? Do you know why they've not been able to get in touch with Dundee and why they're not getting an answer from Dundee? Are they just blanking calls, or are they not? Are they blanking emails?
Well, the one thing I would say is I think people have spoken to John Nelms at Dundee. I think that's almost certain, to get a gauge of what his thoughts are, what he's about to do, and what seems to have been the problem. I think the one thing that has to be cleared up here, and a lot of fans are mentioning it here, we have to look at the timeline. We have to look at the actual document that was sent in, and if there is, in the rules of the SPFL, a situation, Hugh, where Dundee can change their mind and make their first declaration null and void. If there is, then they can vote yes. The problem here is we don't know the timeline. We don't know if a call was made. We certainly at this point are in a situation where I think, as well as people throwing wild accusations about the SPFL, Neil Doncaster, Rod McKenzie, you name it, the one thing that I think Roughie's hit the nail in the head here with is it was pretty vague. I'm not sure the SPFL were as blunt as to say, vote for this or you're not getting your money. But I do think they were very vague on 28 days and the ability for clubs to apply for a loan. I think they're at fault with that, Hugh.
Yeah, I'd agree with you that, but I think the clubs are at fault with that as well, Peter, because they've obviously, I mean, they're coming now and saying, we didn't realise that the rule said, we didn't realise that this rule said this, we didn't realise that that rule said that. I mean, Ruffy's coming out with 28 days, or the clubs didn't realise, well, it'll be in a rule book, look at your rule book. I mean, you just can't come out and say, we didn't realise that. It's all right to be, give accusations, founded or otherwise, of being railroaded. But if stuff's in the rule book, you as a club, your club secretary, your club chairman, they should be apprised of, they should really know what the rules say. Now, it seems to me from the outside, and I have, that's all I am, is that yes, there was a great rush to say, get it in 2 days and then you get your money. But surely the clubs could have said, wait a minute, Rule 74B says we've got 28 days. Now, certain clubs did know that and did say that, but no club seems to have picked up on the fact that you can get loans. This seems to be an absolute shock for every club. Why? What we've got to point out here, Peter, is the SPFL is not an alien body that lives on planet Mars. The SPFL is the clubs. It's a club body. There are club members on the body. I think I'm right in saying Anne Budge has been on the board of that body. They should know the rules.
Yeah, the other thing here, Roughie, which a lot of people, I mean, I can understand sometimes there are smaller clubs with a smaller board, resources are strapped, and they will not, in a moment of crisis, start saying, let's get the rule book out. I get that. I mean, I'm going to try and offer as much balance as I can. I think Hugh makes a very pertinent point there. But I'm looking at it, and there's all sorts of accusations flying about that, well, wait a minute, it's unprecedented circumstances. The only people that have suddenly said they don't want to accept it are either in second place or they're bottom of the table. Now, we all know, because we've all stated on here, Ruffy, we would like to see an expanded league. But as one chairman said to me, 85% of people are absolutely at peace with the way the vote went.
Yeah, most of the 85% people are the people that Hugh's talking about. They need the money desperately. They wouldn't have wanted to wait, even though it was 28 days. They can't wait 28 days. As Hugh says, they need the money right now. And that's the way I would have thought the majority of them would have voted, and quite rightly so. If they're that deep in it, they need the money. So, yeah, I don't have a problem with them not voting that way, because that's what everybody in this whole scenario has done, is voted for self-preservation.
Are you privy
and the other
to know
thing
of
is,
any...
well, I was just going to say as well, Peter, we do know that Dundee marked a no and sent a no. So it was sent. The no was sent. They're not
Yes.
debating that they never said no. That no was lodged wherever it was lodged. So they're not saying we never voted no. They're saying they've changed their mind.
Yeah,
Now,
absolutely.
if you vote no, you vote no. And in
No,
a ballot, if you vote no, you vote no, or you vote yes.
Well, let me throw that out there and say, yes, we are aware that they voted no, because Scott Gardner revealed that there were 3 clubs who were all talking to each other, and then obviously gave everybody a photocopy that showed that they were voting no. They do have a right to change their mind, apparently, Hugh. Correct me if I'm wrong. And changing their mind within the 28 days is the big question.
Well, wait a minute, Peter. Does that mean everybody can get their vote back?
Well, that's the question I'm asking. It was the thing that we're getting now is John Nelms apparently saying that they were able to say through their secretary, hold that vote, do not view it as cast, and you know we're now waiting to see. Well, have you changed your mind? Is it a yes vote? Do the rules state that you can change your mind if you've cast the vote? This is the thing that's leaving everybody angry, Hugh.
Yes, listen, I've got no special insight on this, but I have been reading up on it pretty solidly. Yes, there is a camp that say, you vote no, that's your vote in, and and that's it all over. And I see that the Queen's Counsel opinion to Partick Thistle supports that view. I've also seen and talked to people who are versed in company law over this. I've made calls about this, and they say, no, what's happened here? If you vote yes, apparently your vote, that's the vote. Now, bear with me, however bizarre this sounds, but it comes from company secretaries saying, no, in this type of vote, if you vote yes, that is taken as definitive, but no isn't, for whatever reason. So the chasm between those two positions is likely and very possibly going to buy a group of QCs a very nice skiing holiday round about Christmas.
Yeah, I mean that's the other problem about it here, Darren, because quite simply, that bizarre rule there is angering people more and more, because suddenly you've got that 28 days where you can retract your no vote and change it to yes, and this one club seems to be the kingpin in it all now, which I think it's farcical, because there are two elements that are really clouded here. You know, from the madness that unfolded over the weekend, we have a situation where Rangers have called for the suspension of Rod McKenzie and Neil Doncaster because they have evidence that suggests that there was less than fair actions going on, that they feel, whether it was undue pressure, coerced, or whatever. Rangers obviously think there needs to be an investigation because they have evidence to suggest that certain things weren't followed properly. So with that, we're now in a situation where, do you just say, I mean, the SPFL seem at ease in saying, well, do you give them an independent investigation, which, as Hugh says, gets somebody another ski holiday and drags it all the way through the year of 2020? Partick Thistle have sought legal counsel as well. So that's another case if this all goes through. I mean, it's really, really murky waters. The two elements are we going to call the leagues? Will everybody else in Europe and the world do the same? And secondary to that, are they going to expand the leagues? It's such a big question, which I would like to see the leagues expanded. I've been criticised because I worded it wrongly, saying I don't think we should lose Hearts in the Premiership, but I do think we should expand the leagues. Roughie thinks the same. What do you think?
Yeah, well, that seems to have been kiboshed, expanding leagues, because I'm with you, Peter, and I can say I do want to save Hearts. I think we need to save Hearts, but there's so many, as I said before, grey areas about Rangers say they have evidence. Now, if Rangers have evidence, give it to the SPFL and let them argue about it and let them see, do they have an argument? Hugh, the other one was Hugh saying if it's yes, it can be changed. If it's no, sorry, if it's yes, it sticks. If it's no, it can be changed. And then the biggest one, Peter, I don't get that 85% voted in anything voted yes and 15% voted no. And the 15% are kind of getting their way before the 85%.
Yeah, but it all comes down to the rules on that one last vote, which is the stickler here, and that unfortunately for me, and I don't know about you, Hugh, we mentioned it in yesterday's programme. I certainly don't like the way the SPFL went about the whole thing with the clubs as well, telling everybody who they were going to vote. Should have been private. It shouldn't have been a situation where Dundee knew suddenly they had leverage in this whole campaign. And also, of the chairmen that I've spoken to over the weekend, and that's just to help some of the dafties out there who clearly think you only speak to one person in a situation like this, many of them were irked by the conduct of Scott Gardner and the feeling about, one, relaying private conversations, and two, that the 15% are holding a gun to everybody's head now saying, it's, you know, we want league expansion because they want to save themselves. That they are digging in and thinking it's not on.
Yeah, I think, you know, you go back to your initial points, Peter. I agree with so much of what you said. And back to your initial point is, you know, where we are at the moment is turmoil and there's no easy way out of it. We were going to go, and we really have to. I mean, I'm like you, I've talked to chairmen and chief executives and football people over the weekend. This is really crisis for Scottish football. There's clubs that are not going to come out the other side of this, Peter. And they need it now. And I agree. I think one of the SPFL's great mistakes was to call a result without all the votes in. I thought that was unconscionable. I thought that was really crazy. I've also been mystified by the Rangers' attitude to evidence. You know, imagine if I came to you and I say I want Darren and Roughie suspended, and you say, why? And I said, well, I'm not telling you till you have an independent inquiry. Well, you go, well, I can't do that. I need some evidence before I make any. So that, you know, that might just be a holding position at the moment. See, if anybody wants to know what should be going on in Scottish football at the moment, I'll give you a wee tip. Read what Roy McGregor, who's one of the most intelligent people in Scottish football, certainly one of the most richest, well, a man who puts his money where his mouth is when it regards to his club, Ross County. Just read his words to see what the situation is like in Scottish football at the moment. It's catastrophic, Peter.
Yeah, I think that's been lost in a lot of people. And from my point of view, Roughie, I think that's what's swayed me from minute one when this whole thing stopped. I automatically thought, now is the time to save all rather than think of individually. I just looked at it and I thought, we have to expand the leagues. We have to stop relegation. That was the one issue. The other issue is a thorny one, because no matter what you say, if you say, call the league now, everybody goes mental and said, no, we've got to play it into June, July and August till it's resolved. Well, I am telling you right now, this is my personal opinion. You can like it or lump it. There is not a ball going to be kicked all the way through to the summer. There certainly won't be one with thousands of fans watching it. And there certainly won't be one with people behind closed doors, not in this current climate. And I'm looking here, Albion Rovers said they'd have no players to start a game after a lockdown because every one of their players will be out of contract. There are players that will be signed for other clubs. There are players that will be doing they'll be doing deals and well aware that they'll be leaving. So what are you doing? Are you finishing the season with an entirely different team of players when you get back out of lockdown? I don't think that can happen, Darren.
No, I don't think that it can happen. If you sign for another club, you obviously can't finish the league and then carry on. What I found strange, Peter. Now everyone will have an opinion whether it's going to start again. I think you're right. It does look very, very unlikely. But it said that the players would need 6 weeks before once they started back, they would need 6 weeks. I don't get where the 6 weeks are coming from. Surely everybody knows. You see the players down south. You see everything on the internet. They're doing everything on Zoom. They're doing classes. They're keeping fit. So if we could get it started, as you say, which is very unlikely, how can it not be 3 weeks and then we start again? Because everyone's going to be in the same position.
Yeah, so many unanswered questions.
I don't get the 6 weeks.
Well, I think the one thing that people are talking about is actually almost like having to go through a pre-season again and obviously try and get to match fitness. The problem with that, Darren, is quite simply, you and Ryan Stevenson say it could be less, but other people are suggesting that you'd need players to get up to absolute full fitness to try and get it to the same level.
I know, but they're all going to be in the same boat. They're actually keeping fit just now. It's not as if it's pre-season where they're going away on holiday and players don't go mad now like they used to. But they're not going away on holiday and relaxing and chilling and having a couple of drinks at night or that. They're still keeping fit. They've still got their monitors on. They're sending them into the club every day, so the club knows what they're doing. So they don't need 6 weeks. Yes, I get you need to look after your players. You do need to look after them. Sorry, Roughie.
The other scenario is if we're saying, right, we're going to make a decision on the championship in the first and second, and that league's going to be finished. So are the SPL going to wait till the 23rd of April and wait for more information and say, oh, wait a wee minute, we might be able to go in July? So they're saying they're okay to go, but everybody else is to finish.
Well, listen, I think here's what I think's going to happen. If this yes vote, the changed yes vote, is allowed to stand, I think they call the leagues. I think at that point, Hugh, that allows this is just my reading it as I'm looking at it right now. Once they get the lower leagues called, they'll release the money ASAP, although it's not a prerequisite for the vote, believe me, as we've established from Roughie there. But then I think what they'll do is they'll say, right, the precedent's been set. 2 weeks from now, They'll have the last words from UEFA, and UEFA won't call it, by the way. UEFA are just giving them overall advice. Every football association has to call their own league, and 2 weeks from now, I think the SPFL will call it, if not before.
That's precisely.
Will they have a vote? Will there be a vote, Peter? Will there be a vote on calling it?
If this resolution today allows Dundee's yes vote to stand, despite the fact there'll be a legal battle going on in the background, it will allow them to call the Premiership. And they can call the Premiership champions and Hearts relegated. I don't know what happens after that if everybody sits around a table and says, look, we've called it, but now we're going to look to league expansion. But I think they'll be able to do it, Hugh.
I think so as well. And I don't think there'll be another vote. But I do think if there is another vote in 2 weeks' time, it'll get the same 10-2 result. Because I think it's in the interests of every club outside Rangers who are obviously, they've got their discontent over it. We've got a great fan base. They would not be happy exceeding to giving Celtic, as they see it, 9 in a row. And Hearts, who of course don't want to be relegated. But I think the Premier League now, a 10-2 vote is pretty much enshrined. Now I didn't think that. I thought there might be a chance of Hibs and Aberdeen in the first vote voting against it. But once they've voted against it, I don't see how the circumstances change. Once they've voted for it, I don't see the circumstances changing in the short term. And I agree with you. I think the leagues will be called. I think, and then, if you think this is a big story, and if you think this is turbulent, then the battle starts. Then you touch the light blue / maroon touch paper and you stand back.
Yeah. Listen, on this point, I'm going to read out a few messages and then I'll get back to you, Roughie. I'll give you the call, right? Keep the point in your head. Keep the point in your head.
Right.
I want to try and get through as many. Wow. Just out of curiosity, do you need to send it to a lawyer and wait for a reply before we can speak to you? Anyway, I'm going to try and read out. Maggie's written it down for him. So,
that would be in shorthand. That would be really snookered.
I'm going to try and read out as many points as I can. And remember, we can offer you opinion and we can give you chapter and verse on what's happened right up until now. But again, I'm not going to condemn anybody from their opinion. Jason Wood says the clubs have to wait and see what the scientists say. That's Jason Wood's opinion. Andy Anderson, this is possibly not the football show for you, Andy. Your head's warped, so you really shouldn't be on this programme. Niall Kane says the season's finished, just hand out the prize money and declare Celtic champions. Dundee United promoted, Hearts relegated, Motherwell and Aberdeen the Europa League. There won't be another ball kick this season, end of story. And of course, Keith Little says 6 weeks was part of the bullying antics. Can the SPFL name the clubs who need the money so badly, says Mickey Gordon. Angus Ray says league reconstruction should be decided first, then payments made. Well, this has been an argument that a lot of people have been trying to put forward. George Mullen, James Milliken, Mark Derrigetti, there are so many who've been putting their point across, and we are absolutely delighted that you're joining us. If you do get a chance, like, share and follow us on The Football Show on PLZ Soccer's Facebook page. If you're on YouTube, I'm about to read out as many of your messages as possible. Don't forget, you can hit the subscribe button. Roughie, you have the floor again.
No, I was just going to say, in the light of what we're all talking about, league reconstruction and everything, before you call the SPFL finished, don't you think there should be a vote before they make that decision? Are you going to vote for league reconstruction? Shouldn't they be telling everybody, this is what we're going to do once we call this league?
In an ideal world, Hugh, I would love the SPFL to actually maybe get just a little sense of compassion here, and for once, as Roughie mentioned there, say, look, we're going to call it, but we understand that the overwhelming feeling here, apart from a certain amount of clubs, Hugh, the overwhelming feeling is league reconstruction.
Well, Peter, just first of all, this lockdown is doing some really funny things with my brain because I'm agreeing with you today. This isn't the. We've been on this show together for, I don't know, since our broom cupboard in Stirling. How many years ago, Peter? And this
8
is the
years.
first show for the first show ever. You and I actually down to the word you're saying. You started what I was going to say in an ideal world, and you actually said it. So obviously there's some kind of what do they call it, Stockholm syndrome or something like that I'm getting from being on lockdown on my own. Yes, in an ideal world, as you say, league reconstruction, should be at least on the agenda and promises made. But I think the situation, and I keep going back to this point because I think it is the central point. I think the situation for some clubs, and I've talked to some clubs in confidence, is so dramatic and so dreadful that a resolution has to be made pretty sure. I accept the allegations of bullying and cajoling. I accept all that. I'm not trying to whitewash that. And if people see it as bullying and cajoling and all that, I'm on board with that. I can see it. But there is a real need to get a line drawn under these. I take you back to my stuff about Roy McGregor. Roy McGregor's got no real skin in this game. His club's not going to get relegated. His club's not going to get a European place. He's as neutral as you could get in this, and he's calling, listen, for sense, stability, and some kind of strategy now.
Yeah, that's the other aspect. There are two other elements that, in the side here that are playing out, and they're playing out very quickly, Roughie, is the fact that the medical evidence, which some people seem to be absolutely disregarding on what is going to happen long term here. That's the one thing. The overriding thing that we mention on this programme day in, day out is one life is too much to lose for a family. So that's the first thing. This horrible virus is affecting so many people. But the second part of this is the business end of it. And Roy McGregor touched on it. And this is the point that Hugh's making. Roy McGregor's talking about the fact that coming out of this, Roughie, clubs are in financial meltdown. The TV companies haven't got a bottomless pit of money. There's lots of businesses that have folded. There will be many thousands more that will fold. People are losing their jobs. They won't have disposable income. And suddenly you are looking at it and you are seeing just this vast array of people suffering catastrophe. And the other end of this, of coming out of lockdown, is lots of people in pain financially, unable to think about even taking a Sky subscription, never mind getting on a bus and going to a game. They're not going to be buying strips. They're going to be looking and thinking, have I got enough to feed my family? Have I got enough to get through this year? Where am I going to get a job? So suddenly you're saying to yourself, that's the argument that Roy McGregor's making. Never mind the pain now. The fallout from the pain is even worse.
Yeah, I agree with every word you're saying there, Peter. Then why are we insisting and punishing people? Why are we punishing clubs, that have done nothing wrong? Why are we going down that road? And you correct me if I'm wrong here. It was somebody had mentioned it the other day. Have we had 3 already league reconstructions in our time? About 85, 88 and 91. No,
Yeah, well,
10 to 12, 12 to 10. Well, the guy told me, I don't know if it's right or wrong, but in these 3 times that we've did it, there was no relegation. It was changed to all the leagues, 12, 10, back to whatever. These 3 occasions, at no time was there any relegation to any of the teams that were affected by it.
Well, listen, you're absolutely right. That has happened. I mean, I don't need to jog Hugh's memory on this. We were in a situation where the SPFL demanded that if you were going to be in the Premier League, Hugh, you had to have a 6,000-seater stadium. Do you remember that rule?
Oh, absolutely. And I'm sure there'll be a few supporters at Falkirk and elsewhere that will remember it as well. These were heady days when all we had to worry is if there was a bucket seat in the stadium, I think my message today would be, if somebody said to me, what was your message on this whole thing would be, get it sorted and get it sorted quickly. Now, people will say, well, that's a very pro-Celtic point of view. It really isn't, because what's going to happen here is people have to have some certainty of what's happening now and certainty of what they're going to be doing next season. Now, no chairman, no chief executive can say at this moment what they are selling next season as a season ticket. They couldn't go. You couldn't go and say to them, what are you selling to your potential season ticket holders next season? Some of it's understandable because COVID has made so many inroads in this. Will we even have a football season next season outdoors? I mean, that is not that is on the agenda as well. So
Yeah,
I think you've got to deal with the problem that's in front of you before dealing with the problem that's coming, and that'd be my bottom line.
Darren, the other little twist in this one is suddenly Kelty Hearts are the champions, but Bonnie Rose have released a statement today. And remember, this could be a week of statements being released. Bonnie Rose have said, listen, 5 of the remaining 6 games we have are at home. We have a game in hand. We're 6 points behind Kelty, and we're not happy about it. And they've obviously just put in a lovely little line, which is, this obviously looks as if it could be to save someone who's already in the league. Is it a situation where Dubry can have an unfair advantage in all this because they might not get relegated this season, and their chairman Ken Ferguson's on the SPFL board? Suddenly you've got Bonnie Rose casting aspersions that this is slightly rigged, not in their favour.
Well, you can see where they're coming from, Peter. I read a piece this morning that I think there was a call from the league last Monday, and there was nothing mentioned about the leagues being decided. And then all of a sudden, last night they've decided Kelty have won the league, and that's it, done and dusted. So, I mean, as I say, people are looking for transparency through all this, and if been told last Monday that this is what we're thinking, this is what a good prospect that we're going to do, but they didn't know anything, so they're just hit last night, and you're going to be aggrieved. I can see where Roughie's coming from. You're going to be aggrieved on the position you're in, but they've made a decision. Now it's up to the SPFL to make that decision as well. That's all we're asking for, because it's becoming. You look on the television on Sky and that, Peter, and it's looking embarrassing. The Scottish game's looking embarrassing for what's happening here. It's really bringing it down.
Yeah, listen. The other thing
so,
is,
Peter, can I ask you?
Yeah,
was there relegation in the Lowland League?
They haven't made that decision.
Relegated?
No, they haven't made that decision yet. That's still to be called. But they have declared Kelty the champions. Now, whether Kelty and Brora Rangers get a chance to even get into the league, God only knows, because we'd love that answer. Lots of people are coming on and mentioning, and I just think it's pertinent to clarify this. Lots of people are saying, the English Premier League is contemplating coming back at this time. The Bundesliga has set a date for this time. They can set as many dates as they want, Hugh. They're not going to make them.
And the other thing as well is these leagues are so vastly different from the imperatives that are facing our leagues. To be very simplistic about it, our leagues rely on gate money, because the television money, which is one of the things we're arguing about, of course, is not anywhere near the levels of the English league. What the English league are desperate to do is fulfil fixtures. If they could roll a 6-6 in Lancaster Gate and get it televised, they would do that. Our problem, and it's a problem that we've got to address, is that the money that comes through the gate is largely the money that sustains Scottish football. So there is no prospect of that in the short term. I would say there was no prospect of that until, and I'm not a medical expert, but I don't see it happening in the summer, Peter. We're already talking about having another month of lockdowns, so that would take us into late. So we're miles away from going back to play football. So I think any kind of kind of comparisons with the Bundesliga and EPL just don't wash.
Trust me to freeze when you were making that big point there. I missed that, Hugh, completely. What was the tail end of what you said there?
Trust me, it's not worth going back for. It's not worth watching it.
Yeah.
Listen,
the other great thing is, I don't know about you, Roughie, but and Darren, I'm going to ask you this question because I'm really worried because people that you think would be sensible are starting to do stupid things. Now I know Chris Sutton. He's a great lad, but I spotted him with a dumbbell with sparkly white pants on, and I thought, now that's not the Chris Sutton that I remember. And then Roughie was playing archery with his wife out in the front garden. And he had her, now hold it for this, guys. Roughie had his wife wearing a Roman outfit that Marcus Aurelius would wear. Now, he had, now wait for this, he'd tied her to a tree.
Oh, no!
No! Calm down, Hugh. You're ahead of me. Right? So he ties his wife to a tree. He's got a bow and arrow. She's in a Roman outfit, which is skimpy to say the least, and he sticks an apple on her head. And I'm thinking, now, have I seen this movie before on Channel 905? And I thought, this is either going to be a gory end or I'm going to have to turn it over. So that's the first thing. And then Tam Cowan has lost the plot. He's singing Neil Diamond songs and rewriting the words. I mean, there are people who I would thought was sensible that I've hired for this show, and they've just lost it. It's just gone mental.
Maggie's wanting the number of that Partick Thistle QC so that she could sue him.
No, was there a lawyer involved at the tree?
No, it was. And I nearly couldn't go through with it, Dan, because I couldn't find the handcuffs to put around the tree in.
That's absolutely. It was absolutely. As I watched it unfold, Hugh, I just thought, this he's lost it. He's gone. And I hear people are actually on the top of the roof in Berlin demanding cream eggs and caramel wafers. The world's gone mad. I was just thinking, Hugh, if you had to climb up on top of your roof and make demands, what would they be?
I could probably, after 4 weeks away from my partner, I probably couldn't say so on live television.
Absolutely. Thanks for that, Hugh. You've saved me. Anyway, I have to say thank you very much to Greg McCrindle, Ray Finkel as well, Brian Corns is on, David Frew, Timothy Baird, Hugh Smiley, John McLean, so many people on YouTube live watching us now. It's an absolute joy to have you on. Alan Tinto, Scott Robertson, so many people, Paul Clemente, David Frew, Martin Conley, Train Beck, everybody giving us their opinion on YouTube on this issue. All of them valid. Lots of people putting their and one here, which I think is a very good one, which I have to mention, which is basically saying, to be fair, the need for caramel wafers and of course cream eggs is a legitimate one. John Christie says, if there's no football until autumn, finish this season and then get summer football off and running. James Milliken says, the lower leagues in England, the Welsh and the Irish leagues, don't have the money the EPL or the Bundesliga have. Why are they not demanding this? Well, to be honest with you, James, we don't know the circumstances across there. We can only deal with the cards we've been dealt here. We can only tell you what we are hearing from the facts that are being relayed and the calls that we're making, and we're trying to be as diligent as possible on this. One thing I would say, and on this programme, you know, you mentioned it there, Hugh, about people criticising and mentioning if suddenly you call Celtic or call Rangers or call a Hearts line, you start to get tainted. they try and look at your background and everything. This programme's not about pandering to that. This is about trying to give as informed a detail as possible. The only thing I would say is I didn't expect Roughie to turn up in his Partick Thistle sweatshirt to compromise his opinion today.
But the point about this, Peter, is like I'm in favour of the leagues being called, very strongly in favour of that, and I would see, because of I think this decision is for the greater good of Scottish football, and a greater number of clubs agree with it. Fine, but if I was Alan Rough, right, or Anne Budge, I would be arguing against it. I would be saying this is unfair. I would be hurting, because it's going to eat the very fabric of the clubs that they love. I understand that. I've got no agenda or anger or angst that people are trying to fight their corner, because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to fight the corner for the clubs they love, because they know that if this vote goes through, it will have an impact on the clubs they love. So I've no problem with it.
Yeah, but by the way, and I have to point this out, Darren, and this is something that I know Roughie, would have mentioned over the last couple of days as well, but I think it's very pertinent to people that are watching the show. Hearts and Partick Thistle have got a legitimate point, never mind being passionate about their clubs and wanting to save them from relegation. They have a legitimate argument based on, at this point, with the league remaining, and I include Rangers in this as well, and and other clubs who are close by, the Falkirk Wraith Rovers situation, they have a legitimate point based on the fact that there are still points to be played for, and nothing is set in stone with regards to there's no way they could be caught or there's no way they can't save themselves. That is a very legitimate point of view, and I'm not going to take that away from Rangers' right to make it, Partick Thistle, Hearts' right to make it, Stranraer, Brecon, the lot. They can all make that legitimate claim, Darren. That's where we've got to have real sympathy for them on this.
Of course you have, Peter, God almighty. I mean, I can look at, obviously, played for Hearts. I don't want them relegated. Roughie's right. Roughie's fighting Partick's corner as much as he can. Rangers are second in the league. Now, whether they can catch Celtic or not, they obviously don't want Celtic getting 9 in a row. So I get Rangers' argument that they're going to fight it in Inverness to get in a playoff. Falkirk, who are a point behind Wraith Rovers. So as we've said all along, you look after yourself, and I do get their argument, but there's come to a point where decisions are going to be made. And whether you argue or you don't argue, they're going to have to say, this is what's happening. They've won the league. They're getting relegated. Or, as we want league reconstruction.
Yeah, listen, stick with us.
Peter,
yeah?
I was just going to say, I was going to say, Darren, there, one of the small things, one of the grievances, and I know everybody's got grievances, the reason that we are a game behind everybody else is because Queen of the South had to play a Scottish Cup tie, and we were told we couldn't play that day. That's another thing that just rankles with a lot of people. That if we'd played the same number of games, then you might have got your head round it. But to be deprived of that game because of another club's playing in a cup tie just doesn't sit right.
Yeah, let's not throw that in the mix as well, Roughie. We've got enough different permutations without you firing that one in, eh?
Somewhere in the new town of Edinburgh, Peter, there's a QC adding another 500 guineas to the bill for that
one. Absolutely, Hugh. Listen, stick with us, guys. I'm going to read out quite a few of the messages as well. We'll give you the answer to the quiz. Earlier today, would you believe it, in Brisbane, I caught up with former Partick Thistle, former Celtic, and of course former Motherwell striker Scott McDonald. Well, I'm delighted to say joining us on the football show is Scott McDonald from what can only be described as an idyllic background and a place where you've moved to in Australia. Brisbane seems to be something that you really enjoy at the moment.
Sorry, hold on. Yes, Peter, I can hear you now. I just thought you looked ridiculous, so I thought I'd join you, mate.
Yeah, I was just about to say to you, well, listen, you can afford the frame photographs in the background. I'm going to try and stay neutral in this one. I mean, it's difficult circumstances for everyone. How are you handling it over there with your family?
Yeah, no, it's been good. It's been a difficult time for everyone, hasn't it? Obviously, we've moved halfway across the world, and unforeseen circumstances, I moved clubs halfway through this season. So the family had been living still in Melbourne up until about 2 weeks ago. So it's been good to have them up here with myself and be all back together. But it's getting to that point now where I think everyone just wants their space and wants to get back to normal. But the homeschooling starts tomorrow, so that's going to be very interesting. See how good I really am, Peter. It's been a long time, so I just hope they don't ask me too many questions. That's what the teachers are on Zoom for. So hopefully, hopefully they'll do the job. But no, it's been crazy. And look, talk about the Scottish leagues itself, the whole of Europe. We're in a very big predicament ourselves over here as well. So it's affecting everyone in the game and then in the world, as we know.
I was going to ask you about Australia. How has it handled the whole pandemic?
Really, really well. I think like everyone, they were onto it a little bit late. But once we got up and running and started to organise ourselves, it's been well run. I think the biggest thing from an Australian point of view is the amount of testing that we've been able to do as a country. I think if you look at it and the numbers, not to get too political, but we've ended up testing a lot more people than what the whole of UK has done. And with a population that's a lot smaller, 27 million to the 60 odd million in the UK. So I think that's something that the UK have tried to look upon, but we've been very fortunate we've been able to do that. And we have different states which have different laws. So there's been huge lockdowns in terms of borders, if you could put it to like the English and Scottish borders closing down. That's the type of things that have been going on here. So it's been very vigilant. And now people are starting to get, as I understand over in the UK as well, there's fines up to £1,000 for people, if they're out their house and not essentially needing to be out their house.
What's it like playing for Robbie Fowler?
It's been excellent. I've really, really enjoyed it. Obviously, that was a huge catchment of me coming to the football club itself. Really enjoyed being part of a brand new football club in Western United at the start of the season. It was a very exciting time. And, look, some things work, some things don't. And unfortunately, it got to the point where things weren't working the way it probably I seen it to be going. So when this opportunity came up, and obviously a longer term contract as well, which always helps, it was definitely one that I bit off with more than I could chew and wanted to get up here as soon as I could. So Robbie Fowler's obviously just starting out in his managerial career, but what a top player he was, Peter. And he's certainly showing signs of being a good manager already as well. Very comfortable in his own skin, and what he's allowed me to do is just sort of be me and be a leader and look after the troops. And I've really enjoyed it. And I think since I've came to the club, we've gone from strength to strength. Not to say it's down to me completely, but look, I'd like to think I've helped along the way, and we were looking really, really good there to be, title contenders up until obviously everything that stopped us.
You left Scotland just as it was hotting up, Scott. I have to tell you that the whole place is not only in lockdown, but in meltdown as well, as far as Scottish football is concerned. Dundee seem to be holding all the aces at the moment. It changes minute by minute. Dundee could now submit a yes vote, which would allow the SPFL to call all the lower leagues. But the Premiership, I don't think a game is going to be played before the summer. And there's real consternation here about Celtic possibly being called champions, Hearts being relegated.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be the case, doesn't it? What I found really interesting, and I was having a little joke about it because I'm so far away, but the Scottish football at times is a gift that keeps on giving, isn't it? There just seems to be more drama than Coronation Street or EastEnders put together at half the time. So, with everything that's going on, that you could have a yes vote, but you couldn't change your mind on that. But if you had a no vote, you could, which is interesting in itself. But if what I'm led to believe that Dundee are going to put a yes vote in, then that looks like the rest of the leagues will shut down and finish as they are. And then, like you said, it's only a matter of time then before Celtic, crown champions, and Hearts are relegated, and then the lawsuits start, and all the even more fun begins, doesn't it? But I was a big advocate of finishing the season myself, but as the complications have been, coming forth, it does get very complex to try and move the season into the months, where the new season would begin, and contracts and monies and UEFA getting involved with their competitions. So I think the realists, want the league to be finished now, and so they can start up again for the brand new season. And look, some will say that they have an argument in terms of, there is an opportunity for them to get out of the positions that they're in, including my old club, Partick Thistle, who disagreed with it as well. And, it's a real shame for them, and it's hurting me that they're in that position that they are, but you are there for a reason. The table doesn't lie, as they say, but and it's unfortunate circumstances that we'll never see again. But unfortunately, if there isn't a different take on how the Scottish football goes forward in terms of extending the league or making it a bigger competition, then it looks like these clubs will be relegated.
Yeah, I mean, there's still some people, Scott, holding on to that very thin thread that games could be played at some point going into July and August. But the unfortunate thing that a lot of people are forgetting here is the medical advice, which is quite simply, once lockdown ends, not everybody is going to be allowed to suddenly flock to stadiums together to go and watch sporting events. There are people who are not going to have money to suddenly decide to go and watch football. There are companies folding day by day. There are people losing their jobs. I mean, realistically now, calling it seems to be the most sensible thing. Even although I do think Hearts and Partick Thistle have a valid point that they have games left that they feel as if somehow they can scrape themselves out of the position. But as you say, it's such a unique situation that I think calling it is the only answer. Null and void, I'm led to believe, across Europe is not on the table.
Well, I think there's a lot of legality complications within that as well, in terms of fans and everyone that's involved paid their money for the whole season. Well, if the league's null and void, then a lot of those fees and season tickets and everything else could be argued that they're null and void. It's been a waste of time where you wouldn't like to think it's been all in vain. And I think the likes of Liverpool and Celtic are in good enough positions where you would say that they're more than likely, well, Liverpool especially, are going to win the league, and I'm sure Celtic are probably in the same boat. But look, I think what everyone's forgetting as well, that there's a lot of TV revenue, TV money, especially in Scottish football, that would go amiss if they don't finish the season now. We've got the League Cup. I say we, but the League Cup was meant to start in July, and that's revenue in itself. And then you've got a brand new deal with Sky Sports, taking over the full Scottish Premier League. They'll want that to start straight away. Where does that all tie in if we go into the likes of July, August, September? And I imagine then probably Sky would take the rights to that. But I'm sure BT would be saying otherwise, because they'll want people on their stream and online for them as well, because everyone's wanting to watch football, and companies want football on their TV screens to keep subscriptions there as well. So all these complications become very technical.
Yeah, and just finishing on that point, do you think expanding the league is a move in the right direction if that suddenly were to come to the table?
I certainly think it's a very valid option. I think it's something that's been talked about within the last, few years, and I'm an advocate for it. I think it would be great for Scottish football. I think the way that the SPL went about it and changed the league format was great at the time, but I do think it's sort of gone a bit stale, and there is changes needed within the league and within the games themselves. And you could possibly argue there probably is too many, teams of a professional nature, or too many sort of leagues. You could probably cut it down to having 3 leagues rather than the 4 that Scottish football has got, and make the leagues bigger and try and format it like the old ways where you either play each other twice, or you play each other twice and then maybe have a split thereafter, and have different types of playoffs within them. I think that would be an interesting one as well, rather than just having the teams play each other 3 times and then splitting for the fourth games as well. So, and I think it would bring a lot more revenue and a lot more competition within the game for some of the big clubs that are in the championship right now. That would certainly grow again from being in the Scottish Premier League. There's a few in there, obviously, that I played against in my time in the last couple of years, that you really did feel that from where they were 10 years ago, if they were to get the opportunity again, you would see the fans come back and the excitement would come back.
Scott, I'm delighted that you're scoring goals at Brisbane. I hope at some point when you do get back kicking the ball, you have a great season. Great to hear that your family are safe and well. It's just it's a throwaway here. I don't know if it's on or not, but because obviously on many an occasion I set you up for more than a few goals at the fives. If there is a position over there for an overweight midfielder along, just behind you at Brisbane, just give me a shout. I'm available. Economy of movement and a good touch. What more do you need?
Well, I'll get in touch with Robbie anyway. He's in the UK right now, and we actually do have a foreign spot available, Peter, so I'll put a good word in for you, mate. No bother.
Top man. Stay safe and well, Scott. Take care. You got to try, Darren, haven't you? You don't know where you're going to end up.
There was a wee bit, and I was like that. Well done, Scott. He's improved since we went there.
Well, I was going to say to you, everybody seems to be nailing their colours to the mast. He automatically comes on the phone and he's got a Celtic strip behind him, and there's Dozy there with a Partick Thistle hat on as well now.
Biased.
Next week.
What was that?
I'll get the Dortmund jersey on next week.
Yeah. You get the Dortmund jersey on, Hugh, if only to see if the Germans call the league, which I think is highly unlikely. Obviously, a lot of people are arguing, Michael Hughes saying if the league is called but not completed, then how can there be winners and losers? And the one thing about this, which I think is going to be so evident, if they call the league and eventually, with all the legal cases that undoubtedly will unfold, Hugh, we're now in a situation where, yet again in Scottish football, because of social media, the pond life will start arguing with each other yet again about whether a club's alive or dead, whether a club has an asterisk, whether it's 9 in a row, whether it's 10 in a row. This country's mental.
Aye, and in many ways, the mental aspect of it is a great thing in Scottish football. It keeps us all going, But in many ways, it's really tedious and damaging. But do you know the bottom line of this, Peter? There's no way out of this. This is, whoever is decided here, there's going to be uproar about it. Because if there was a simple path through this, it would have been taken. And what we've got now is Hugh mayhem. If you think what we're going through at the moment is turbulent, Hugh mayhem, because it's going to get worse.
Yeah, I would say one thing, and I think this is probably something you share, Roughie. A number of people have talked about you would really need leadership. You need somebody to come to the fore that was, someone that could steer us through these stormy waters. All we've had, I think, has been uncertainty and a certain amount of vagueness. And I understand, people's anger at the SPFL. Remember, Roughie, you and I bought the rights of the SPFL for the commentary, and trying to get communication out of them was nigh on impossible at times. It was a place which you actually struggled to know exactly what was in the fine print at times. It was hard going. So I understand clubs and why they're so angry that there doesn't seem to be leadership, in the whole organisation. Somebody to just be a voice that guides everybody through it and offers a note of sense. What we have is silence, uncertainty, disagreements, and now divisions and splits that really, in the current climate, it's embarrassing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you've hit it on the head, and I think Alison hit it on the head yesterday. Since this whole scenario has started, we have not seen any leader at all standing on the steps of Hampden, speaking to people and telling them this is the truth. This is what's happening. Everything is behind a door somewhere, or sent out in an email, or just fed out to the press. Let's see somebody out there telling the fans the honest truth of what's happening, because it's the fans are the main people who are going to get us through all this. And they're the ones who have been taking out the complete and utter whole equation of everything that's happening here.
And talking of fans, even on an international level, Darren, FIFA, their vice president, I'm just looking at Victor Montagliani, has mentioned that he doesn't think there will be any international football played this year at all.
And I know it's until 2021. It's incredible. But again, Peter, we don't know when we're going to come out of this. And I think the leagues are more important than internationals, even though obviously the internationals are important. I just going to pick up a point that Alison said yesterday. Now, we're obviously on the computer. We're all in our houses on the computers. The government are doing it every single day. Why has there not been a press conference where you can go on Zoom and they sit down and the press can ask the questions and we get answers? Because if you get answers, it's a lot easier to deal with, Peter. And I think Alison was correct in that.
Well, the reason for that is because, quite simply, at the SFA and the SPFL, they only ever announce a press conference when it suits them, where they think they're beyond reproach, they're not in the middle of something that involves close scrutiny, Hugh, and it's some kind of positive spin on something. We've just signed this deal with a betting company. You never, ever get the chance, because they avoid it like the plague, because they've got a well-oiled machine to avoid scrutiny.
Absolutely, and I can tell you, and I won't be the only one, because I've obviously spoken to other people in the trade, on a regular basis, and I mean on a regular basis, 3, 4, 6 months, I go to the SPFL and say, can I have an interview with your chairman, Murdoch McLennan? He's not given a one-to-one interview with any newspaper, and I don't think any broadcast, I'm willing to be corrected, certainly any newspaper, the Post. This is coming back to bite them, because, you know, what has happened now is they've been seen correctly as a faceless body, bureaucrats, etc., 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 and it's really impacting badly on them. And what they really need, of course, is that they really need that sort of transparency, or at least an attempted transparency, where they get asked questions and you give their answers. Because I don't think there's bad people there. I mean, I know there's all this conspiracy and bribery and lies and corruption, etc. I don't believe that. I think they've handled things badly on occasion. I think things could have been made an awful lot easier. But I want them to hear that, to say that and explain it as well.
Would you give Rangers an independent investigation?
I would only give them an independent investigation if they come forward with proof that merits it. You can't have an independent investigation, Peter, without any proof. They've got to come up and say, this is the proof we have, and people can rule on it and say, yeah, that merits an independent investigation. You can't have an independent investigation on somebody saying, we think this has all gone wrong. What proof you have? We're not telling you. I don't think that's tenable.
Yeah. Roughie, there's a big meeting. It started. They're 8 minutes into it. They're all probably on Zoom, although one of our viewers says Zoom's the perfect place for them because they're all Zoomers anyway. so that kind of sets the tone for the way everybody's going. What would you like to see come out within the next 24 hours, Roughie?
A bit of honesty for a start, you know, and get the situation sorted out with the voting. I don't know the complications of that, or what you can do with everything. I think we all just want some honesty somewhere, and then we can move on, or the clubs can make decisions, because that's all we're looking for.
Yeah, Hugh, I had written down just a list here. Obviously, I will release it on a video to everybody on our chat group, just for clarity and honesty and transparency. With regards to Dundee, I mean, I don't know about you, Hugh, but from a journalistic point of view, I would love to have been either invisible but standing in the room to know, was there a call? Were promises made? What promises were indeed made, if at all? I'd love to know, are they going to talk about league expansion? Is it time to change the 11-1 voting structure in the Premiership? Is everybody going to get their money now? And of course, the investigation. If there has been wrongdoing. Just a few of those lovely questions I'd love answered, Hugh.
Yeah.
10 minutes with John Nairn's front, back spreads for about 3 days. That's all you need, 10 minutes with him, because he's the man that holds the answers to everything in this.
Sure.
And it's really fascinating when he comes out and does declare his vote. He'll obviously have to append that great staple of Scottish football life, the statement. And that'll be really worth listening to reading when it does come out.
Well, can I just say something to you, Hugh? And I kid you not, as you are speaking, just as we're about to finish the programme, I'm going to tell you that the answer to the quiz, in case I forget, is Michael Moles. I don't know about you, Darren, but when Michael Moles joined Rangers, oh my God, what a player he was. I mean, he could lose a player just by swivelling his hips.
Well, that's what he did, Peter. He threw everybody in the stand. He was an absolute wonderful player. And I can actually remember watching the game against Bayern Munich when he tried to, you talk about players going down and riding tackles and feigning injury. He tried to jump over, so he missed Tan and he injured his knee, and it was a huge loss for obviously Rangers at the time, but a massive loss for Scottish football because he was a top player. And I don't know if he would have been in the 2000s, Peter, but he would have been up there, I think, with Henrik. He was sensational.
Yeah, good. A lovely compliment there, Darren. Hugh, before we go, and Roughie's going to hang on this, see, there was a reason for us to hold on a wee bit longer today. A statement has been released by Dundee. Would you like me to read it?
Oh, please.
Right.
Please.
I'm just literally looking at it, but I can't tell you, Hugh. I hope they reveal who was the man in the grassy knoll in 1963 as well. So if you bear with me.
As long as there's end, Peter, there is no Santa.
Yes, exactly. So basically, they've released a statement, Roughie. Following a weekend of discussion and contemplation, we'd like to issue the following statement. As we made clear in our statement on Friday afternoon, it is time for integrity and impartiality within Scottish football. Our view on that has not changed. Over the past few days, we have entered into various positive discussions with reconstruction at the forefront of these. Given our discussions and considering all aspects, we don't feel we are in a position to comment further on the resolution that was put forward. We understand that this may bring more questions than answers, and we will look to give a much more substantial account of the past few days at the conclusion of this process. Our supporters should know that we are, as always, looking out for the best interests of both Dundee and Scottish football as a whole. Now, I don't know about you, but that says absolutely diddly squat nothing.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what it says, though, to every chairman in Scotland and every chief executive that wants the money now? It says, phone the Samaritans, go and, what are you going to do? Because if this is just dragging on, and I'm not making light of this, this is dragging on, and it ain't going to end well.
Roughie, that release there is a complete nonsense.
It is a nonsense. And the first question you've got to ask is, who's he talking to about league reconstruction? What power does he think he has? And who are the people that he thinks he's talking to that have the power to make that decision before, as Hugh said there, the money gets dispersed?
Alec Kelly has said, so Dundee say nothing. Alec, you're 100% right. There's all sorts of speculation on this, but I'll say this, Darren, that Roughie's right. Who did Dundee think they are that they should have the decision, or, on the whole of Scottish football here. This is farcical.
It's farcical. It's incredible, and I'm not having a go at Dundee because of an ex-Dundee United player. I just think it's incredible that they're holding on. That the SPFL can't say we need an answer within 24 hours. But as Roughie said there, league reconstruction has never been mentioned. Obviously mentioned on this show. So Roughie's right. Who are they speaking to about league reconstruction when it's never been mentioned from the SPFL?
I'm flabbergasted by that press release there from Dundee, Hugh, if only for the fact that I think they have to very quickly explain themselves, but more importantly, cast your vote and then explain what went on between the point of 1642 onwards to 1703 on the day of that vote. Tell us what happened. Tell us what calls were made. And obviously at the end of this, they've made a decision. Why did they change their mind? Were they made any promises? And then from there, we need a timeline of events from the SPFL as well, Hugh.
Absolutely, but first and foremost, we really need a vote, Peter. Sorry, bang this drum, but if they've got another, if it's a 28-day thing that we've discussed with Alan earlier, we've still got 3 weeks of that 28 days. We're going to go into the beginning of May. Well, this is the stasis. This is the complete and utter impasse. It's going to be dreadful. It really is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hugh, we now know that the money can be dispersed.
Yeah,
we now know that money can be dispersed, so the vote can take whenever. I don't know what the rush is. If the SPL is going to wait till the 23rd of April, why is everybody not waiting till the 23rd of April? Just dish out the money.
The money has to be dished out. Money has to be dished out according to your league position, Alan.
Yeah, but
they can get loans as well.
Yeah, but that involves everybody making an application for a loan. I mean, that's just that's a pain in the back end.
But Hugh, I don't think the clubs would be unhappy about money getting put out on the league where the league conditions are.
Well, I agree with you, but if they're paid out in prize money, they're paid out for a reason, and the word is prize. The second aspect, and we'll need another show of this, Alan, if you're applying for a loan as well, there's got to be real strictures on a loan, and a body can't be seen to be loaning money to a company, to a distressed company, and a lot of the companies will be distressed. It's against city rules to give loans to distressed companies. We'll need a whole programme in that as well, but it's not.
But the other thing, and I think you touched on it, Hugh, is it is the club's money. No,
exactly.
The club, you keep saying the club are the members of the association. It is their money to disperse.
Yeah, but we'd have to probably Roughie, and that's not impossible either. But that might be the way forward, is they go in and they change the rules.
Yeah, so which again is what the legal counsel has mentioned, that you could easily change the rules in the SPFL on this. The money, that's the over £9 million in the prize money. The rules at the moment state that they have to actually call the leagues. That's the way they're saying it. But the other aspect of it that we didn't know, that Roughie obviously says a number of clubs didn't know, is you can apply for a loan. Hugh's mentioning the fact you can't give a loan out to a distressed club. But I would suggest to you, if they've suddenly made it unknown to everybody that they're in the middle of the biggest, unprecedented situation financially in Scottish football, then I think the loan would be forthcoming. But suddenly, if you've got 42 clubs and a good 35 of them have to submit something and then wonder when they're going to get the loan out, is the loan coming immediately? As soon as you submit it and you've asked for your 3 million, are you getting it right away? Or is it going to be staggered once it's cleared? There's so many things on this that I think is a pain in the backside on it.
I think one of the biggest things out of this whole thing that's going to come out, and it's not a massive thing, but a lot of the clubs are now going to be saying to the SPFL, why did we have to vote in 2 days when we had 28 days? I know Hugh says that if the secretary's good enough, he should have looked at that rule, but they pressed it. They pressed it for the Friday in 2 days. Can you imagine saying to the SPFL, right, see on Friday we want you to decide who's won the league? In 2 days, it just wouldn't happen.
Yep, there's so many questions. Will we get them answered over the next 24 hours? I'm not so sure, thanks to so many people. Willie O'Donnell, George Mullen, David Richardson. Of course, Chris Maxwell says, boycott the Dundee games. Chris, come on. Seriously? Boycotts in the middle of a financial uncertainty? I don't think that's the way ahead. That's pettiness. Lots of people on YouTube and, of course, on Facebook. Thank you very much. Don't forget, if you're on Facebook, like, share and follow our page, and you'll get us Monday to Friday as ever at 4 o'clock. On YouTube as well, all you have to do is hit the subscribe button and you'll be well aware that you can watch us. Incidentally, and I don't know if you're aware of this, Roughie, if you go onto your Skybox, if you still have one, you just go to the apps, go onto YouTube, put in PLZ Soccer, and every show is there for you. All the different programs we made, but the live one comes up crystal clear on your telly, Roughie.
Oh, fantastic. I must get somebody to do that for me.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, Hugh, I am going to send you the. I'm going to send you the William Tell video that he's made. It's absolutely priceless. Although he didn't know it was William Tell last week. Who did you think it was? William Hill.
I thought it was William Hill.
But nevertheless, it's well worth a look, Hugh. I'll send it to you. Thanks to Darren, thanks to Hugh McDonald and to Roughie. 4 o'clock tomorrow. Join us if you can. Of course, it'll be me, Roughie, Barry Ferguson and Tam McManus will be on the show from 4 on Facebook and YouTube. Thank you for your contribution.
Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.